Hello, happy Tuesday, everybody. Sammy Kincaid, your public information officer for the city of Mount Juliet, with Deputy Chief Tyler Chandler. And Deputy Chief, last night, an incident that happened. A lot of people are wanting some updates today. So
Yeah.
I figured it's probably good for us to hop on here, and give everyone the latest on where that stands. I know a lot of people, I had some people tell me this morning that they were getting those text messages last night, the alerts. Thankful that they were staying updated, but they were
Right.
wondering where it stood now. So I guess let's start with that. Where does it stand now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we identified the suspect, and we actually identified him fairly early on the traffic stop last night before he ran away from the officers. But we've identified the suspect as a Justin Howard. I can get his image up here. And he is wanted now for the possession of Schedule 6 drugs, but also evading arrest from our officer. What happened last night around 10:30 in the evening, our officer noticed a vehicle, a car traveling southbound on Mount Juliet Road. It was missing a headlight. Stopped the vehicle for that. While on the traffic stop, the officer could smell marijuana. He called for a backup unit because there are two passengers in the car, and Justin Howard was the passenger. So another officer gets there. They get the driver out, talk to her. They get the passenger out, which is Justin Howard. And he handed over a large bag of marijuana to the officer. And then once that happened, he took off running. The officer gave chase, and then Howard entered like a wooded area, a thick wooded area. It's dark, but the officer also had information that Howard was possibly armed with a handgun, which that information came from the driver. And in addition, he has a lengthy, dangerous criminal past. So the officer called more units to get on scene to set up a perimeter, which took about 8 minutes. And they got a perimeter set up. And then we called in our tactical team, our special response team, to go into the woods with their night vision capabilities, all the capabilities that they have for safe searches for a suspect like this. And they found his jacket, but they never found him. We also used K9 Milo and Citron, which helped recover the jacket. And then we gained information that the suspect likely called someone to pick him up. We also had a witness who noticed another vehicle driving reckless in the area before officers were able to get on scene and assist the officer with a perimeter. We think maybe that was the vehicle that picked Howard up and then left the area. But there was a good, detailed, complete search over all the area on South Mount Juliet Road near Providence Pkwy, from the Marriott all the way across the street to the Publix area, even looking in storm drains, the officers did. And then by air, Nashville's police department's helicopter came and assisted us. We're grateful for their assistance too. And then our special response team tracking through the woods trying to find him. But it does happen when you don't get a good perimeter set up in time because other officers are trying to get to the scene. A suspect can get away, especially if there's already a car or someone following them nearby to quickly pick them up and then take them away from the area. But he handed over his license to the officer before he ran, quickly identified him. And because, we know his identity, we knew he wasn't in the area. There's just not much of a search that's going to take place and waste those resources because we know he's gone. We know who he is. We're going to pick him up. Someone's going to pick him up because now he's wanted on evading arrest charges and the possession of marijuana charges.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you say that a perimeter not being set up quick enough, but it was 8 minutes. A perimeter was set up. That seems pretty quick to have officers in place. So now that you think that he's been picked up, do you think he has completely left the area? Because he's from the Nashville area, correct?
Yeah. He's from the Nashville area, and all the information that we have on him points for him being in Nashville. He had multiple phones on his person. He also left some phones in the vehicle, and it's just a matter of time before he's apprehended. It's always best if he just turns himself in. But again, if he doesn't, he'll be picked up by law enforcement somewhere.
And since he has not been picked up yet, if somebody does have information, how is the best way to get that information to the police department?
Yeah, we have a anonymous tip portal on our website, MJPD.org, where you can just go to the website and type in a tip to us, or you can also call us at our non-emergency line, which is the 615-754-2550 number. And we'll take that tip and follow up on that tip. We obviously want to know where he's at. This person ran from one of our officers. He has a dangerous past. He's wanted now again for possession of drugs and also evading arrest. But we would love to know where he's at so we can make that arrest and get him in custody.
Yeah, and it's something that we've talked about many times, but he came from the Nashville area, came to Mount Juliet. It seems to be there was quite a bit of activity, proactivity that was posted on social media this weekend, but it seems to be a trend because of the proactivity of our officers that you see a lot of the crime coming not from residents of Mount Juliet, but outside of Mount Juliet.
Yeah, our officers make around 400 arrests a month off of the proactive work that they do to keep the city safe. While our arrests go up, the crimes that affect our residents and our businesses are going down drastically. So crimes against property, crimes against persons continue to trend down. Our arrests continue to trend up. And the majority of arrests that we make are not residents of our community. Again, that's just part of the way we have to work to keep our city safe is we're a cut through between Hermitage and Antioch. A lot of people use South Mount Juliet Road to travel those different routes. They stop at our gas stations. They may stop at our restaurants as well. But when our officers are finding criminal elements and stopping the vehicles off of many different violations, they're discovering people who should not be armed because they lawfully cannot carry a firearm, or they're carrying a firearm and they're impaired, or they're carrying a firearm and they have a lot of amount of drugs in their vehicle, or they are wanted people. Just last month, we arrested 45 people who were wanted in our community. The year of 2023, we arrested nearly 750 people who were wanted. And our officers found them in our community, and the majority of them are from all over different states, but again, majority originate out of the Nashville area. But our police department, our officers, we are gonna do whatever we can to keep this city safe, and that means us being proactive. You see a lot of traffic stops. You know, we see the comments on social media. We get the comments, man, y'all make a lot of traffic stops. Y'all have a lot of officers out working, and it's because we have to keep this city safe. It's not about writing tickets, because our ticket issuance rate is only around 36%. So 3 out of 10 cars may result in a citation on a traffic stop. And that's typically for the more extreme type violations, very large speeds, running red lights, using your cell phone while driving. But a lot of the arrests that we see that our officers are making lately is off like handicap parking violations, where the suspect is going to park in a handicap parking violation, or they have a headlight out, or their tag doesn't match the vehicle, or there's some other violation related to the registration plate. They're not wearing their seatbelt. They may be speeding through the community. That's how our officers are engaging with these suspects. And if we're working so hard to keep the city safe and keep crime out of the city, we have to go after the people who commit crime. And that's what our officers are doing. They don't want people who commit crime to be successful in committing crime in our community. They need to go elsewhere to commit their crime, because they're going to get caught if they come to Mount Juliet, because our officers are extremely proactive and they work very hard to keep this city safe. We're grateful for the support from our community as well, Sammy. This wouldn't be possible without our community support, without the support from our elected leaders who give us the tools and technology we need to keep the city safe, such as our license plate reader program, where again, the majority of vehicles that are apprehended that enter our community that are stolen, again, out of the Nashville community. And, this is just fact. My comments aren't anything against Nashville or what they're trying to do. It's definitely not against the Metro Nashville Police Department, because their officers are working hard too. They just have a lot on their plate to deal with. And a lot of calls to respond to. We're lucky in our community that the majority of the activity that our officers do is proactive, so they can maintain that proactive work. So they're not in response mode where crime can then take over. So our officers are proactive. We don't have to worry about a bunch of calls for service in our community that keep them busy. And so they can stay focused on being proactive and doing what they're supposed to do to keep every person in our community safe.
You said something earlier that I thought it's great, but it's kind of frustrating that criminals
Mhm.
don't have boundaries. They don't
Yeah.
have city lines like a police department does. So it's
Mhm.
nice, like how you mentioned earlier, Metro, they did get their helicopter up to help with the search last night. But there's so many times I see on the arrest that the suspect has a warrant out of another county,
Mhm.
out of another city. And so a lot of the police departments do work really well together in helping get a lot of the criminals off the street, it seems like.
Yeah, we do. We work well with Nashville, with all the different communities around us, to keep the city safe, and it's all connected. Over the weekend at Cracker Barrel, our officers recovered a stolen car that we originally were alerted to through Guardian Shield, the license plate reader program. When they found the vehicle, it was parked. They watched it. Three suspects came out of Cracker Barrel, tried to get in the car because that's what they arrived in. Our officers then apprehended them, and it was a 18-year-old, 14-year-old, and 12-year-old that were from Nashville. The 14-year-old and 12-year-old were on juvenile probations for previous crimes. A 12-year-old committed armed robbery and was on that juvenile probation, and the 14-year-old has committed previous a car theft and was on juvenile probation for that. But then the car they were in was stolen from Hendersonville.
Mm.
So you have Hendersonville, different jurisdiction. You have Nashville, different jurisdiction, and then you have recovery of suspects and car in Mount Juliet. You can see how they don't know boundaries, right? They're just going wherever to commit this type of crime. But it breaks your heart too that a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old are in this situation. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that. 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds shouldn't be in this situation. And then when you reach out to the parent, they don't want to come pick their child up. So the child then goes into state's custody for that. And I struggle with it is because I know we as a community, Mount Juliet community, can't help these children
Hmm.
to get them on a good path, right? We are just trying to keep our city safe. They come here, commit crime, or continue their crime, driving a stolen vehicle, possession of stolen vehicle. And all we are able to do is just make that arrest and put them in through the Wilson County justice system, which does a very good job at holding people accountable. And we're grateful for that. That helps us out tremendously in Wilson County and keeping Wilson County safe. But they live in other communities, not here. And so you can't reach them in the way that you want to reach them to be that positive influence in their life so they're not going down a criminal path.
Right. And before we go, do you want to put up the photo you have of the suspect from last night, just
Yeah.
so if anybody knows where he is at, you can call or give the anonymous tip on the Mount Juliet Police Department's website. But it is 36-year-old Justin Howard. He was not taken into custody last night. Don't believe that he is still in Mount Juliet, but if you do have any tips on where he is at, he does have a couple warrants off of last night's traffic stop.
Yeah, he sure does. But we have a great team here in our community. We are a police department that does not struggle in hiring people. We have 2 vacancies right now. Chief Hambrick's vacancy, and also one of our detectives moved to Florida to be closer to her dad. We're going to do interviews for officers next week. And we have great candidates who have applied for us so far by looking at their resume. So I'm thankful that, we're not one of those police departments that we're struggling on hiring. It's important that we are full staffed so we can be proactive to keep Mount Juliet safe. We have great resources available to us out front. We hear the jackhammer going right now in our office, but we're building a new headquarters, which is so important to as we grow. Right, we have to get a better communication center that's going to be protected with a tornado. It's going to have a much larger evidence room. We're overflowing in our evidence now, again based off the proactivity. Training rooms and spaces for officers in our investigative division to be back under one roof. That'll be done in about 16 to 18 months. But we're a growing community, but just because we're growing doesn't mean that the crime problem continues to grow. The majority of the crime generated is all off the work of our officers' proactivity. And every time we recover a stolen car from Nashville, or find drugs in a car, or find someone who shouldn't have a weapon on them, our crime rate takes a hit for that because it goes against our crime stats. Crime is divided in 3 different categories: crimes against property, that's like your theft offenses, your vandalisms, anything that affects property. You have crimes against persons, which would be related to domestic violence, but also aggravated assault, simple assault, robbery, anything that affects a person and makes that person more of a victim. And then you have crimes against society. That's like your DUI, your drug possession type stuff, your weapon possession type crimes. And I wish I could show the. Let me see if I can get this screen up here. Share screen. Share window. Here we go. This is just some data that I pulled and sent an email last week about. But this graphic here shows January of 2022 to December of 2023. That trend line you see that's brown is crimes against property going down. The trend line you see that's blue is crimes against persons. That is going down. This is arrest data. The trend line you see going up is the number of arrests that our officers are making per month, which some months it got over 450. Just again, last month, 45 people had warrants in our community that didn't live here that our officers arrested. Our crash data as well is also trending down, which is good to see. So good numbers. Our officers are extremely proactive to keep this city safe, and they're going to continue at it. We appreciate the support from our community that energizes them. They know the community supports them. That makes them want to work harder every day to serve this community as best as they can, because they know they're truly protecting the town and keeping crime out so it doesn't truly affect the residents or affect our visitors or businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you giving an update on last night. I know a lot of people were really interested to hear where that search stood today. So yeah, thank you for the update.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we hope that you all have a great rest of your Tuesday. It's crazy to say it's Tuesday. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
For sure. It's a sunny day. It's a little bit warm out. I'm in short sleeves, not long sleeves.
Showing off the guns there, Deputy
So
Chief.
definitely no gun, but definitely short sleeves. But just grateful for the good weather. I'm going to try to get out and about today if I can.
Awesome. Well,
Right.
thank you again.
Take care.
All right. Bye.